We continue our What is Truth Bible study series with Jonah swallowed by a whale. Really? While they range in size, whales are amongst the largest animals in the world. They have been known to frequent the waters off the coast of Newfoundland, with whale watching a popular tourist attraction. I remember my first encounters with whales. My dad was a fisherman, and as a child I spent many hours on the sea with him. It was not uncommon to see whales in the waters, often close to our small boat. I was amazed with the sheer size of these mammals, and I admit sometimes scared, as they would venture so close to us. My first encounter with Jonah and the whale probably came in Sunday school. It was one of those stories that caught your attention as a young child. It was right up there with Daniel in the lion's den and David and Goliath. At an early age, I was taught that such Bible studies were not like the fairy tales my mom would also read to me. Instead, they were true-to-life events that really happened. I didn't question how such a thing could happen, but that it did, because it was in the Bible, and everything in the Bible is true. As I grew older, many of my childhood beliefs came into question. I started to separate fact from fiction. I faced reality, and the time came when I had to ask myself the question, was Jonah really swallowed by a whale? And even more important, did he live to tell about it? The story is told in the book of Jonah and starts with God asking Jonah to do something. We read in chapter 1, verse 2, "Go to Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me." Jonah was a preacher who taught others about God. Now God had a mission for him, to go to this particular city and preach his word. But simply put, Jonah didn't want to go. So we read in verse 3, Jonah ran away from the Lord. He did so by getting on a ship that was sailing in the opposite direction. As we continue to read chapter 1, we see that the ship encountered a great storm, which Jonah believed God sent to punish him for his disobedience. Jonah said to the crew, "Pick me up and throw me into the sea, and it will calm down. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Verse 12. Later in verse 15, we read, "Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm." Chapter 1 concludes, "But the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights." What did he do then? What most of us would have done. He prayed. God heard his prayer, and we read in chapter 2, verse 10, "And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land." The story continues as we see Jonah preaching to the people of Nineveh, and a great revival taking place. Now, in today's language, some of us may say that this story is really out there. Could and did a great fish, we usually refer to as a whale, swallow Jonah? Could he survive 3 days in its belly? I didn't have a problem believing it when I was a young boy, and many years later I still believe it. Let me take you to 2 verses which support my belief. The first one is the first one, Genesis 1:1, the opening verse of the Bible. It reads, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth." The second verse I want to show you is Luke 1:37, and it reads, "For nothing is impossible with God." Look around you. The trees, the oceans, the sun, moon, and stars. Everything that exists was created by God. God made that big fish in the first place. That, I believe, was the hardest part. Getting it to swallow Jonah came easy. For the creator of the universe, nothing is impossible. How did God do all this? It's beyond me, but that is what makes God, God, and me, me. God is the creator, and I am the believer. I believe one day I will be together with Jonah, and I might just ask him what it was like in the belly of that fish, and I'm sure I won't be the first to ask him. Join us again next week for our What is Truth Bible series.